Hi, this is Neil's on Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Buy some silver and some platinum. And be kind, helpful, and grateful, because it's better than being a jerk. This story today is about Ethiopia and Egypt. Last year, did a video saying Egypt was going to attack and blow up the Gerd Dam by like November. And then nothing came of it. And I'm sure all y'all thought, Neil's talking crap out his butt. Nah, Neil wasn't talking crap out his butts. They've been in negotiations since then. Failed negotiations between Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. So I'm going to bring you the latest story. It's kind of been hush hush, so that's why I haven't brought you the story. But here's the rest of the story as far as it goes right now. It says here, Dubai routers, December 20th. That's 2 days ago. Egypt says the latest talks over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD, has failed. has failed, but it would monitor the progress of the filling and operation of the dam. Egypt reserves its right, which it has no rights to water that is gathered on another country's soil, but Egypt reserves its perceived authoritarian rights over another country's water rights in accordance with an international charter that Ethiopia was not included in, so therefore not held to that charter. So Egypt is totally talking out their ass. But anyhow, back to what they're saying. According with the international charter and accords that Ethiopia was not signed it up to or even invited to the talking points or of the table of that agreement or those accords, to defend its water and national security in case of any harm, Egypt Ministry of Water, Resources and Irrigation said in a statement on Tuesday. So basically what the story is that they're not telling you is Egypt and Sudan got together with the international community and came up with a water rights deal for the water in the Blue Nile, the Nile, and all the other countries that were not involved in this deal. And Egypt, in its true communist format, decided it would take from other countries that couldn't defend themselves their water rights and use them to build up their country. So in typical form, Egypt is using others to build themselves up. And now, since they've had it for so long, as most Islamics do, once they've had it for so long, they feel entitled to it. So when another country brings up its sovereign rights, since the Blue Nile starts in Ethiopia, the mountains of Ethiopia, all the watershed goes through Ethiopia down to the Blue Nile River, then flows through Sudan and Egypt. Yet Egypt and Sudan thinks that they own all that water because they excluded Ethiopia in the water rights deal because they were going through a drought at the time and the Blue River wasn't that significant. So they said, screw them. We don't need them. We'll take this water. We'll build our countries. And, if things change, which they never do in this planet, we'll deal with it then and we'll just kill the people and continue to steal, rape, rob, and steal from other countries and not allow them to develop because we're stealing their resources. That's the part of the story that Egypt isn't telling you, but I will tell you. Now let's go back to the story of Egypt's. Someone's using the water that's on their land that they have a right to, and it's hurting us, so we're going to kill them. Crybaby crap. In a statement, Ethiopia's foreign minister said Egypt had misrepresented Ethiopia's position in the talks, adding that Ethiopia's colonial-era mentality erected roadblocks against efforts towards convergence. Let's see here. Egypt's president Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, let's just call him Mr. Sisi. Mr. Sisi and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said in July that they would aim to finalize a deal over the disputed dam within 4 months. Years of stop-start talks. Wow, this thing's jumping around. Start-stop talks have proven unsuccessful. Egypt has long opposed the project because it worries about the future of its future supply of water from the Nile, on which heavily is dependent on Sudan, which it is heavily dependent on. Sudan and other downstream countries have expressed concern about their regulation and safety of its own water supplies. Again, if you have a river and it runs through your country, you don't have the right to the water where it originates. You have to negotiate with those people. What Egypt and Sudan did when they made their international water rights treaty, giving themselves all of the water rights, is they negated Ethiopia. They said, we're not involving them in these negotiations. We'll just take their water rights and we'll use them and we'll grow our countries. And now Ethiopia's developed to where they see how they could benefit off of their land and the water that comes from their land. And Sudan and Egypt are crying, saying, no, we can't have them use their water. We're using it. That's like your neighbor saying, don't turn off your water spigot. I need to water my yard. What the fuck? Egypt and Sudan got their heads shoved so far up their candy asses, I think the rocks stopped by and talked to them and showed them how to shove it up there. I just don't understand Ethiopia and Egypt and Sudan. That they just assume that they own all of Africa's water as long as they benefit from it. And that's not how it goes. They screwed Ethiopia years ago. Now they have to pay the price. They have to negotiate with Ethiopia. Ethiopia has a right to expand their economic sustainability and improvements in their country, for which a resource that's a natural resource of their country is that water. Egypt and Sudan want to take the sovereign rights away from Ethiopia and say, no, water that falls on your land belongs to us. The next thing, they're going to go in there and say, hey, if you have any gold and oil on your land, it also belongs to us. Seriously, Sudan and Egypt need to come to terms that they are not in control of these negotiations. They need to make amends for screwing Ethiopia for the past 30 years while growing their countries and using all that money they made off that water and not even thinking about Ethiopia. So they need to, in my opinion, and in fact, need to just shut up, sit down, and ask Ethiopia what they want to do and agree to it. Because after 30 years of stealing your neighbor's water, you have no expectation of continuance of that theft. You guys have a nice day. I got to deal with some kitty cats.